Welcome back to another quick tip. I've got Chris with me here from the Microsoft team. We're going to vibe code out some real time analytics data here. RTI or real time intelligence is all over the space with the Microsoft messaging here. And man, I really need some sample data sets. How can we get this to be done? Chris was talking to me about this and how he was building some real time data sets using Copilot to help him build out a schema and a structure and sending real time data in. And that's why we're here. Chris, welcome to the show. We really appreciate you being on today. Let's jump into this.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Welcome. I'm happy to be back. Thanks for having me on again. Looking forward to the conversation.
Definitely. Well, let's get a screen share going right away here so we don't waste any more time. I'll pull up Chris's screen. So Chris is here in Copilot. Take it away.
Yeah, so Mike, so we're gonna have I'm gonna kind of pose this as a Q&A session. So I'm gonna start on
100%.
Copilot. You could easily do this in VS Code as well if you want to do it with an agent. I do them in VS Code quite
Mhm.
regularly as well. Today we're just
Good.
gonna keep it super simple. We're just gonna kind of make it straight through. We're gonna kind of try to do this really quickly. So let's say I work in an industry. I work in any industry, right? So Mike, just like we'll use this as our baseline. So let's pick an industry.
I think right now it's super exciting. We're in the holiday season. Packages are being delivered, right? We're in the packaging and delivery service area. So we definitely probably want to go out. I'm always looking for where my packages are, when they'll be delivered. Will they get here in time for Christmas? This sounds like a great opportunity for us to do a shipping or transportation kind of data set here.
Yeah, sounds good. So we're going to start with this. We're going to start with this shipping kind of logistics, packaging, and delivery, right? And so like, I think what's really cool about this is you can really use this for any data set. I know in SQL, and when we talk about some of these other kind of data sources and databases that we've leveraged before, we've had like AdventureWorks, we've had Wide World Importers. For streaming data, it's really very easy to customize it because it's so easy to kind of get some of this stuff. So we're going
Love
to
it.
say here in this case, like we work in the logistics business, we're working in packaging and delivery. So I'm just going to come in here to Copilot and I'm just going to ask it like a super simple question. So I'm just going to say like, who are the leading software providers for package delivery in the United States? Right? Just because we're in the United States, so we'll kind of narrow it down a little bit. I'm just going to ask Copilot, like, just go tell me. Like, I really don't know too much about this space, so I'm just going to assume, like, I don't really know much, and it's just going to come up, and it's going to come up and be like, oh, here's a couple of different things, right? I've got on fleet, bring odds, looks like Optima routes, like some other things, right? But then I'm really going to kind of take this a step further. So I'm just going to pick one, right? Maybe I'm using one of these if I'm in the logistics business. Maybe I'm not. Like I can really do this for anything.
Hmm.
But I'm just going to pick on fleet, right? And so I'm going to say for on fleet, what is the name of their software application that they use to track packages? And I'm going to misspell stuff because I type faster than my brain works and I misspell things a lot, which is one of the things I love about AI agents and
They can
GPTs. Like
figure it out.
it doesn't judge me. It knows what I mean. So what's the name of their software application that they use to track packages? Can you please provide me a sample schema
Yeah.
on what that might look like in a JSON format? And I'm gonna ask JSON format specifically. It doesn't necessarily have to be. I could really kind of
Sure.
tailor that and I could be like whatever. But
Yeah.
I happen to know like, JSON's kind of a universal standard. Many applications all provide their data in JSON now. So
100%.
all I'm telling this is just kind of give me something, right? And this is also really valuable and really beneficial when you just want to test it, right? You don't really want to kind of go through all the wiring and kind of go through everything. Maybe you just want to create like a really simple kind of piece, right? So something that I can really kind of easily test and kind of move forward. So here we go, right? Like it came back, it gave me what I've got. It's like, oh, here's my tasks, my service level. Like I didn't know any of this 10 minutes ago, right?
Yep.
Here's the pickups, actuals, locations, like all this different stuff, right? So now I'm going to expand on this a little bit. And I'm going to say, okay, Copilot, thanks. Um, Help me create a Fabric notebook that takes this sample schema and generates a sample JSON payload that can be sent to an Azure Event Hub. I could say Azure Event Hub. I could also say Kafka. But
Sure.
really, what I'm going to leverage is I'm really just telling it I want to take these events, and as these events are being generated, I want to go send it. So if
Yeah.
you recall from what I think we've talked previously, we've talked about how event streams have what are called a custom endpoint, and event streams can really serve as a broker. So event streams have Event Hub endpoints that live in Azure.
Sure.
They also have what are called Kafka brokers that I can go use to send this. So really, all I really necessarily need to be able to do is spell Kafka or spell Azure Event Hub, and I can really start taking advantage of this really, really cool technology. So
And by you prompting that, that's you're giving some context back to the agent to say, look, this is information that's already known on the internet. You'll probably already know where the docs or those things live, and it'll be able to kind of help support some of that.
and it'll be able to support all that, right? So
Yeah.
I'm going to say create this Fabric notebook, take a sample schema, and then generate this sample JSON payload. And what I love about this is that depending on, like in my case, I talk to a lot of customers, and I like dozens a week. And so when I talk to all these customers, I can ask them, and I can say, kind of, what's your
Mm,
anticipated volume? Do you like do like 100,000 orders a day, 1 million orders a day, 10 million
sure.
orders a day, 100 million orders a day? And I can really tailor this to really be very specific and very personalized for them. So being in the like coming from a consulting background, like that's super valuable for me because now I don't just have like one little thing that I can show and be like, here's what it looks like in AdventureWorks or something. I can kind of really get very prescriptive and say, here's what it would look like based on kind of what we know you use, what your data volume is. This looks very personal for you, right? So,
Hmm.
so I'm going to say send it to an Azure Event Hub. I'm going to say I want to generate this sample at we'll just pick something like we'll say 100 messages per minute, right?
Yeah, that makes
Or
sense.
100 events per minute. I think that's probably a pretty fair number, right? It's not too high, it's not too small. I don't want to
Mhm.
go crazy. I'm not going to be putting this on any like really massive capacities. So just going to do 100 events per minute, and then I'm just going to say just create it, right? And Copilot's going to spit this out for me and give me kind of my notebook, right? So it's going to give me my notebook that I should be able to just copy and essentially paste into Fabric. So
This is slick.
let's give it a minute to think here. Um,
And it's funny, Chris, you're doing this on your side. I'm also doing the same thing. I have my Copilot. I have an M365 Copilot open on my computer. I'm prompting the same way that I'm getting the same way you're doing here. It's giving me different results just because I'm asking the questions slightly different. I'm typing them in my language, but I'm getting very much the same results as we're doing this. So what I'm basically confirming here is as users, as you're watching this, everyone here, what Chris is doing, you can follow along and generally get some of that under the same language here inside a Microsoft 365 Copilot, prompting it with schema and software. And I didn't use the at JSON. I didn't say make it a JSON. I said just make me a send me a schema back, and it actually gave me like a SQL schema back. It assumed I was using SQL or a table. So I had to go back and update my prompt to actually say use JSON. But the techniques you're using here, I think, are very applicable because I'm following along. Yeah, and it's doing the exact same thing.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, you want to give it the more context, the better. So while I'm waiting for this here, I'm actually going to switch over to my Fabric environment. So I've set up a Fabric environment. I'm running a little capacity. This isn't a super big capacity. Mike and I were joking just a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
This isn't anything that I run on. This isn't an F64. This is a small little F8 that
Yep.
I'm just kind of running. I use it for demos and samples. I've created a workspace. I've called it Quick Tips. I'm going to create 2 items. And in my items, the first item I'm going to create is called an event stream. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to call this event stream. I'm going to call this like my on fleet data, and I'm just
Nice.
going to create it.
Sure.
And it's going to create for me. It's going to load. Now I've got things spinning all over the place. I've got Copilot thinking about stuff. I got Fabric thinking about stuff. Uh, Now, what's different here, instead of creating to connect to an existing data source, I'm going to actually leverage Event Stream to just be my event hub. So I'm going to say Event Stream, don't worry about connecting to something and going and pulling. We're going
Yep.
to push stuff to you. So when we push stuff to
Awesome.
you, you're just going to be the custom endpoint. So I'm going
Love
to
it.
use this last one down here on the end called custom endpoint, and I'm going to give it a name, right? And I'll be like on fleet receiver,
Makes sense.
and then add it. When it comes up, I'm not going to do anything to my event stream. I'm not going to touch it. All I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to the top right, and I'm just going to click publish. And so once it publishes, then it's going to come in here and it's going to give me some connection information, which I'm going to need here in a couple of minutes. So I'm going to keep this here. I'm going to kind of let it run for what it needs to go do. And then I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to check on my Copilot while I'm waiting and kind of see what it's done. Okay, so it looks like it's giving me my notebook here. It's giving me what I'm looking for. It said, okay, how am I authenticating? Here's my notebook cells. Do I have everything installed? So I'm going to come and install my libraries, create my configuration. We can see in the configuration, it's saying, what are the target events? It looks like it made it a nice little parameter for me.
Nice.
Great. Uh, It's going to ask me if I want to use something like RBAC, or however I want to go authenticate. What's the service bus that I'm going to connect to? I'm going to need this in a minute. And you actually notice it just put in a nice little placeholder here. And then the auth option B, which we're actually going to use, is going to be the SAS connection string.
Nice.
So I might come back here and I might clean this up a little bit and be like, I'm going to be using the SAS connection string, and I'm just going to kind of give it something specific. And then I'm
Yeah.
just going to tell it like, hey, create this, right? And it looks like it kind of did kind of this weird little like kind of like partial generation of it. But we'll come back and kind of fix that. So we'll clean this up a little bit. But I've got here's some simple cities or some sample cities of cities, states, names, vehicles. It's really just kind of created this nice little random generic data generator for me. So now I have a notebook that generates synthetic data that's personalized to my business, to my specific use case and my specific need for what I want to go create, right? So I can see it looks like it's really kind of simulated nicely from the source system, right? I've got drop off, I've got some JSON, and I've got nested JSON in here,
Hmm.
where so I've kind of created it, very real world, and very specific to what I'm really looking at and what I'm probably dealing with on a day-to-day basis, right? So now I'm going to come back and I'm going to tell it a couple of different things. I'm going to refine my prompt a little bit. So I'm going to say, I'm actually going to use the SAS token for authentication. After you make that adjustment, can you please give me an exportable IPy notebook that I can use to import? Otherwise, I got to copy and paste a bunch of different cells, and
We don't want to do that.
I don't
Let
want
me
to do that.
give me the output. And that's another thing I'll point out here as well that you're noting here. Have you found that using please and thank yous like proper grant language does that help you get your better results here? I've seen a lot of people online vibe coding things, and one of them I see a lot of people doing like, "Could you please?" and adding a bunch of things there. I've also heard people say, "No, you need to be more direct with the AIs." Just out of curiosity, what do you feel like?
I do. I mean, my mother's English, and so I was raised with very, very specific things. So I'm usually very much on the please and thank you, and I
That's
refer to
awesome.
it. I refer to it by name.
Yes, yes.
I'm one step away from being like, you are now being going to be called, I don't know, like Sam or something other than Copilot.
Yes,
Uh,
exactly.
but haven't quite come up with the cool enough name
That's funny.
for that. But so for me, I try to always use my pleases and my thank yous.
Yeah, that's
But
awesome.
I don't know if it improves or changes the quality of
Yeah,
your answer or kind of what
not
it does.
sure. Yeah,
Uh, I know, at least for me, it's probably just like an old habit,
that's
like just so
amazing.
used to it.
Yeah, that's good. Awesome. Oh, wow, it's really chewing through now. So it gave you some, looks like it was writing some Python code there initially.
Yep. So it gave me a nice little Python notebook. Should have exported it. Oh, here's my notebook. So I'm going to go ahead and download
Wow,
this.
that's
And
slick.
And then when I download this, I'm going to come in. We're going to open this. That's another project I'm working on. So now we're seeing all kinds of stuff. But we can kind of see here. Here's all my stuff that I can kind of see, right? So I got my notebook. It's kind of all generating. Now I got a
Yeah,
choice, right? If I don't want to do this in Fabric at all, I could just open this my notebook up here in VS Code. I could have run this directly in VS Code without doing anything in Copilot at all,
sure.
and just started running it from here, right? Or if I don't have access to VS Code, or if I want to make it, maybe I wanted to do everything in Fabric because I want to kind of keep everything all nice and self-contained, so that way I can send it over to my buddy Mike and be like, "Hey, Mike, check out this cool thing I built." It
Yeah.
might be a little bit easier for me to do that in Fabric. So I'm actually going to close this out, and then when I close this, I'm going to go open up my workspace in Fabric again.
Hmm.
And instead of opening up a new thing here, I'm a different kind of tab kind of guy. So I'm going to duplicate my tab real quick here.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I know there's like these little options up here at the top. I don't know how you feel about them yet, Mike, but I haven't quite
I'm
made the adjustment. For me,
I'm I feel like people are doing like 50-50 on them. Some people love them, and other people are like, "I don't understand why they're there. They don't make sense to me." I honestly, I still sit in a lot of the Power BI mode. Like you're in Fabric mode right now because you have like the icon in the bottom left-hand corner. I
yep,
almost never leave Power BI mode. I always just sit in everything inside Fabric. I mean,
I've
sorry, in Power
recently
BI.
switched. I was always Power
Oh,
BI mode.
okay,
I've been
nice,
making a habit, and like
good.
since December 1st, I'm like, I'm gonna try to use this Fabric
All
mode
right,
and kind of
good.
leverage it this way. So I'm making the switch. But I will also be honest, I think a lot of it is at least for me, my habit is whenever I go, I just type powerbi.com. I don't type
Yeah.
like
Fabric. Yeah.
app.fabric.microsoft. It's too long for me. Um,
The thing that
so
throws me off the most is the workspaces. The workspaces moving location between Fabric and Power BI. That's the one thing that throws me the most because I'm so used to workspaces being at the bottom of the list.
yep,
I'm just so disoriented. I'm like, oh no, it throws me off. So that's why I've been staying in the Power BI space too long because workspaces moves. That threw me off really badly.
definitely. All right, so I'm going to come in here and I'm going to create. I've imported my notebook. I don't know if you
Nice.
just saw. I was kind of doing it
Yeah.
while we were chatting there.
Yep. Saw
I
it.
just
It's
went to
there
my
now.
workspace, clicked on import, imported my notebook, selected the one that a Copilot had generated for me,
Nice.
and now I've kind of got all my data. So I'm going to do a quick test. I'm going to go ahead and connect, and I'm going to create a session, just because I like to kind of get it out of the way early.
Hmm.
And then I'm going to install my Azure Event Hub. So I do need the Azure Event Hub library. I'm going to go ahead and install that so I can kind of have that running. And then I'm going to change this a little bit. It looks like it's kind of created some of this for me. I don't want this to be 100, or it looks like it's actually trying to get an operating a environment variable, which we're just going to avoid. So we're just going to say we don't want that.
Yeah. Just make it 100.
Yep. And we're going to say we want this to run for, say, 5 minutes.
Makes sense. Feels reasonable.
All right. Now, before we go too much further, if we notice here, there's a couple of different things. So it came and said, okay, here's your SaaS authentication connection string. Where's your Event Hub connection string? And how are you going to kind of go connect from it, right? So we can see that we've got this endpoint here that's connecting to a service bus.
Hmm.
And then we also can see that we've got an Event Hub name, right? So I'm going to come through here and I'm going to make a couple of different changes. I'm going to come into my event stream that I created earlier and I'm going to click on that data source that I generated. So if you remember a couple minutes ago, we created that custom endpoint, we
Yep.
created Event Hub, we created a SaaS key, and we said we were going to create this as an Event Hub endpoint. You can also see I also have an AMQP endpoint, and I also have a Kafka endpoint. So I can really talk to it 3 different ways, whichever way I want. I'm going to use Event Hub just because it's easiest and just because we're here. I'm going to say, okay, here's my Event Hub. And then here's a couple of things that I need, right? So I'm just going to authenticate with SaaS. I need my name, and I obviously need my connection string. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to copy the name, and I'm going to switch back over to my notebook, and I'm just going to update it. So it's going to be pretty simple. So I'm going to say, hey, here's my connection string, or here's my Event Hub name. And then for my connection string, I'm going to copy this whole connection string. So I'm just going to delete this out,
Yep.
put my double quotes in, and I'm just going to copy my connection string from here.
And one thing
Show
I'll
it.
just note here as you're looking for, if you haven't spent time inside the event stream space, every single one of those event streams requires some level of authentication to send data into it. So just be aware of that. Like I've had some people ask me, like, what if I wanted to have like a webhook and send data in there? Today, that currently isn't supported. There's a lot of great RTI things that are out there. Chris and I actually have also debated about this very heavily. Is like, how can we get this to work as easily as possible? So the nice part about all this is all the security pieces are already built into it. It's already there by default. All the connection strings and security access points that you need to send data into Kafka or whatever solution you're doing, AMQT or the Event Hub, those are all supplied to you as part of the UI there directly. So just make sure everything is already secure and ready to go.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. I think you. It's kind of an interesting trick, right? Because you want the flexibility and you want to easily be able to send it,
Yep.
but you also want to protect it a little bit because this is an event hub, right?
Yeah.
So
From bad actors. Hmm.
if I just made it completely open and said, I don't want to require any authentication,
Yeah.
hey, I could get called from anywhere in the world at any
Yep.
time from
Yep.
anybody, and it would be really easy for me to start to overwhelm or kind of saturate my capacity. So it's a little
Yeah.
bit of a tricky engineering problem, but we'll get to it. So I've got my endpoint here. I've kind of got this. For anybody who's watching this video, this endpoint, speaking of things, it's just going to get deleted pretty soon here, so it won't be here
Correct.
very long. But got my event hub. I've got a connection string, got my name,
Hmm.
and then I can optionally set this partition key if I want to. I can go and I can create a partition key. We'll come in and we'll just say, hey, we're just going to create a fabric simulator default one.
Yep.
If you notice, I'm trying to just get rid of all the OS environment variables that it looks like it generated for me because I don't really want those here.
Yep.
And then I'm going to run this cell. So I'm just going to test this one cell, make sure everything's working hunky dory the way it needs to. And great, it's saying, hey, I'm going to configure this 100 events for 5 minutes. This is the
Nice.
event hub that I'm going to go connect to. And now I'm just kind of onto my sample, right? So if I come back to my next cell, I can see okay, here's all the things that I'm loading. Here's all that sample data that I want. I could come in here and I could come back and I could tell Copilot, hey, I want more choices, or I want less choices, or make one of the choices Chris. I think you
Yep.
could probably tell by the sample. I think Copilot might already know a little bit too much about me because it definitely knows where I live just based on the geographic distribution of the cities and the states and everything here. So I'm in the Midwest, in case anybody was curious.
Sure.
But
As am I. It must know where we both are.
yeah, so definitely. So you can come in here and I can kind of create this simple payload, right? So I'm creating a sample payload, it's sending it here. And then if I scroll down to the bottom here, I should see it's generating a whole bunch of sample data for me. This would take me days, like
I'm looking at
before.
this. Look how much random stuff, like random here, GUID there, random
It
int here. Like it's building so many vehicle one, vehicle two, like all these different items are just being populated in here in like with all these variables. This is a lot of thought to be put
there,
into
there
like this stuff.
yeah, there's a ton of things that go in here. Like I said, these are things that, I mean, I'll be honest, like this has been kind of life changing for me because before doing something like a customer demo to be like, hey, that's great.
Yeah.
Can you show me how it would work for my specific use case and my
Yes.
specific scenario? I'm
Everyone
like,
wants their data.
right, maybe I could do one or two a week just with all my other requirements. Now I can do, one every couple of hours, right?
Yeah.
So I
This
can
is
get up
amazing.
something up and running, especially because once you've done it a few times, you're pretty comfortable with it.
Yeah.
And so you're like, oh, all I'm really changing at this point, like all this is going to stay the same. The only thing that's going to change is just this part, right?
Yeah.
So I could come back here and I could really customize and be like, hey, I know I told you about shipping and logistics earlier, but I lied to you, right? Make it on clickstream data instead, right? Or make it
Yeah.
on, whatever, right? So I've come in here and said, okay, here's all my different, JSON data. Here's my payload. It's super specific to me. I'm going to go ahead and run it. I don't know about you. I like to run each individual cell kind of as it goes first, at least the
100%.
first time,
Yes.
just because I like to make sure that it's going to work.
Yep.
I subscribe to the old trust but verify kind of thing, right?
Same.
Uh, and then I'm going to send. So now I've parameterized everything. So I'm just going to say, okay, hey, here's my event hub, right? So let's build the producer. Let's go create it, right? Great. I've created my client, right? Now I'm going to go send in those batches,
Wow.
however many batches per minute I want, right? And this is where I can start to get a lot of control to say, hey, I want to load test, or this is what works for my scenario, or this is what's
Mhm.
going to go look for me. I don't generate 100 events per minute, right? I generate one, or I generate whatever, right? What size fabric capacity do I need? Right now,
Yes.
it's really easy for me to be able to kind of spin this through in a real world scenario, say push this against my capacity, and kind of take a quick smoke test to say, here's what my CU consumption is going to look like, or here's what
Sure.
that's going to look like. Here's the right size capacity that I should be thinking about for my environment, and here's what that's going to look like. So I think I left
Also,
off on the last one. Yep,
yeah,
we're gonna.
I think it's also interesting here that they're using a function here, and again, this is one of the things where I like using Copilot in conjunction with notebooks. Is another advantage here. How many times have you written on your own, Chris, an async definition function inside Python? Like, just I'm gonna write one, like just figuring it out. Like, you're probably much smarter than I am, but you maybe done a couple of these. But the fact that it knows the language, it knows how to write the asynchronous function defined function for me. It has the wait times in there. It has the async sleep in there. Like, I can look at this code after it's written and say, "Oh yeah, this kind of makes sense." I can
Yeah,
understand and read the code here. Now, if you told me to sit down with a piece of white paper and said, "Write me one from scratch," I'm not good enough to write that whole function from scratch. I wouldn't have been able to do it. The fact that you've already got the answer here and I can read through this also is, I think, a great learning experience of like, here's what Python can do, and you get to see other things or functions that you normally wouldn't be exposed to, which is, I think, wonderful.
yeah, absolutely, 100%. Yeah, and that's what I mean earlier, right? I mean, even writing some of this stuff, like,
Yeah,
yeah, you could write it, but it would take me a
a lot
lot
longer.
longer
Yeah,
than what this take me. So
so
I can
cool.
see it sending all my events here. Now, if I switch over to my event stream, I
Oh,
should
no
be able to
way.
click on my derived stream here. And if I click refresh, I should see my data flowing through pretty easily.
Oh, this is slick. Oh, look at
There,
this.
there we
Oh,
go.
no
So,
way.
so
What?
here's my sample data.
This is
So
cool.
really, like without knowing anything about the industry, without knowing
Yep.
anything about the customer, I just walk into a room. And when you can do stuff like this and you get really good at doing stuff like this, like people
Yep.
think you're like a wizard. They're like, how are
Yeah.
you doing that? Right.
This is
But
so
like
cool.
you can literally walk into a meeting and be like, I don't know anything, right? And then, but know this, and then kind
Mhm.
of say, tell me about your scenario. Tell me about what it is that you want to go accomplish. And then as they're telling me about what it is that they're doing, I'm in
Wow.
the background chatting with Copilot, being like, hey, I'm talking to so and so who works on this system, or
Yep.
they're pulling data from this type of application. Give me a sample JSON payload for what that application looks like, right? And then once I've got it, now I can come in here and I can really come in and configure. The thing to always remember with a custom endpoint and event stream is always publish first, right? So click
Mm-hmm.
custom endpoint, name your source, and click publish so you get that Event Hub endpoint, because there's a little bit of a thing you should be aware of when you create this. What I
Yeah.
need to go back now is, now I need to go back and I need to edit my event stream, and I need to say, I want to create my destination. And my destination, I'm going to set to be my event house.
Ah,
I'm not doing anything to this data. I'm not going to transform it or anything. I could
yeah.
transform it with a SQL transform operator, but I'm going to keep it super simple for this, right?
Sure. Yeah,
Um,
makes sense.
so I'm just going to say direct ingestion in my event house. Like, I could either have an existing event house or I can create a new one. So we haven't created one. So I'm going to create a new one right now called quick tips.
Nice. This is so neat. Just even doing this from like, let's just say I was just on Azure and building all this stuff from scratch. You had to know how to wire all these things together. The system is automatically wiring this up, putting the pieces down, getting the components developed and built for you in line as you're building them. This is just phenomenal to me. This is the power of having a completed solution where you're able to start and build things end to end.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually going to change this real quick just because I want to do like 4 less mouse clicks when we're here.
Okay, sounds good.
And I'm going to use event processing before ingestion. There's just a difference between the way that the two of them works. One's
Okay.
pull, one's push.
Ah,
So
yes.
I'm going to say event stream, just push it to event house kind of for this simple scenario.
Sure.
And I'm going to create a new table, right? And so in my new table, I'm going to be like my on fleet data.
Nice.
And I'm going to say, hey, it's a JSON data format. That's how it's coming in. I'm going to go ahead and activate this. I'm going to click save, and then I'm going to publish it again. This one might take a minute to publish because it's been running for 2 minutes and I've been sending 100 events or so. So it should be pretty small. You should be mindful if you're going to try to do this on something like 1 million events per second or something. You might want to pre-create some of your stuff and like have kind of like send a couple small events through first, create your
Mm,
schema and create your mapping. Otherwise, you'll see kind of the only trade-off. It's not like it can't do it or anything. The only trade-off is that when you push create your event house initially, it'll actually go back and restate and reload everything. So if you're
ah,
like, I'm going to push 100 million events per second through,
yeah.
then like if it takes me 60 seconds to do it, you're talking about 600 million events. Event house has to go gather,
Reprocessing.
which
Yeah,
might has to reprocess and load it all in. Might take an extra second, right? So
yeah.
it's just something to kind of be mindful of. Uh, Generally better to start small and work your way up, but certainly not a requirement. So I'm going to let Event House go through here. And then as it's going through, I'm going to go check on my notebook, make sure it's running. Hey, look at that. It's still running.
Mhm.
It should be just about done sending these events. It should be just about done here.
Yeah, I think we said 5 minutes initially, so it's gonna send about 5 minutes of events and
Yep,
call it quits.
5 minutes and 2 seconds, and then it
There we go.
stops. And then I'm actually going to say, hey, do I want to do this maybe differently, right? Do I want to maybe send these as they're evenly spaced, right? Or when I'm done, then I can just go close my producer, right? So,
Okay.
which is another, I think, great thing about leveraging Copilot or leveraging something to create these for me. It makes sure that I do things that I probably typically sometimes forget, like, oh, I
Mm,
forgot to close my producer, right?
yep.
So here I can just come in and I can just run it, and hey, it's all done, right? And then I can kind of come in here and validate this. So now if I come in here, my event house is still loading my data into it, but if I switch over to my event house, should be able to see it. Let's go load our quick tips KQL database. And I can see it's starting to
Oh,
ingest my data.
there it
And
goes.
here's my data. It's ready to go, right?
Wow.
Now, where I can get really slick is I can start to take this and I can say, hey, now I have this data loaded into my event house. I want to update this data when it comes in, right? So I can see it's loading the JSON. I can see
Mhm.
it's loading all these other things. I could come in here and I can leverage Copilot, right, within my query set. So I could say, hey, within my query set, use Copilot and go write my query for me. Or I could go back to my Copilot originally and say, now I'm working in KQL,
Mm,
create me an update policy that's going to refine this schema and flatten all this JSON out into a tabular structure that I can then go create. So
nice.
I think it's probably a good place to stop,
Yeah,
just in terms of interest, because I know we kind of covered a lot. But
yeah.
like just kind of carrying on for what you can do next. No, there's a lot more you can go do with this, right? I'm just leveraging Copilot in this case to just say, hey, just generate me the event. But
Mhm.
as you can see, like there's nothing that stops me from doing this from any industry, right? Or from any data scenarios, data source, or anything. When I want to go grab, go create, go leverage this, go build this, import my notebook, and within really matter of a couple of minutes. I know it's taken us a little bit longer here, but because we've been kind of talking through some of the stuff, right? But within really 10, 15 minutes, you can really get up and running like that and say, hey, what would this look like if I were to go leverage this technology?
I think this is the main point here is, as me as a user of real-time analytics, it's hard to get good examples of how you build something and make it run or get your head around how to work with it. It's working through the clicks. How can I click the different elements? How can I get these different pieces together to work together? This is a great, simple, easy way of getting started. And again, Chris gave you the whole rundown. Here's how you prompt it. Here's how you go to the notebooks. Here's how you use Microsoft 365 Copilot to get you started down this path. This is a great example. I'm looking forward to playing with this more on my own. I've already got half of my notebooks built on my own here. I'm going to keep playing with this probably this afternoon. You've probably wasted the most of my the rest of my afternoon now because I'm so excited about playing with this. I'm gonna have to get my hands on this a bit more. So um, maybe we'll do another data source in the future. I don't know. Maybe we'll extend a bit more and go more down the KQL side and do some prompting there in the future. But Chris, thank you very much for participating and giving us what your knowledge is on how to build this real time data set. I think using the notebook inside Fabric to generate real time data back for Fabric and build out your systems. Great example here. So thank you so
Yep.
much. Appreciate your time.
Perfect example, super relatable. Nope. Thanks again. Happy to help.
All right. We'll see you all next time. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us on this quick tip and stay tuned for more.
Thanks.